What's up, guys? It's Modern Craftsman Monday.
But it's actually Tuesday. We just record on Tuesdays, not on Monday.
Tyler, you really got to stop giving away our secrets, man.
Yeah. Just hoping somebody picks up at some point. I just can't lie to everyone like that on a daily basis.
It's a daily, it's a weekly basis.
Weekly basis.
Just one time. I just need you to say Monday.
Monday. It's Monday.
It's not Monday.
Yeah.
Well,
it's Modern Craftsman Monday.
It's Modern Craftsman.
Could be Sunday,
Monday.
depending on when you're uploading, downloading.
True. A lot of people listen on Sunday night, which is awesome.
Yeah, I'm usually sleeping on Sunday night.
It comes out at like 10 p.m. or something like that. Either way, last week we talked about how we want to get more women on the podcast. And interestingly enough, this week we have 2 women on the podcast.
Yeah,
Phoebe
and
Roxy.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Phoebe and
I
Roxy.
took a breath. Go ahead.
Very ambitious young women.
Very.
And successful.
And they're going for it. They have a lot going on.
They do.
Like more than I'm comfortable with. Nick was probably just like, yeah, this is my speed.
It's definitely my speed. I mean, they're ahead of me on the book, but not after this email that they just sent me. But you know what? Oftentimes this podcast is about construction and business and things like that. And we talk about how construction is a business and the business related to construction, but they're artists. And I think it really ties well to our industry because, you know, as you'll hear as we talk about it, a big part of what we do is considered art. You know, and it's not always business oriented, and it's a real good look into the respect that art has struggled to receive and how they have chosen to combat that.
Yeah, and make some money and get paid for their time, because typically, you know, there's the artist is not, you're not supposed to make money unless you're in like the fine art world where you're selling $1 million paintings.
Or you're dead.
Right? Yeah. That's it's true. You're supposed to struggle through life and, you know, earn your keep and pave your own way, and they're trying to I guess promote to other artists that they can make money doing this, and you're not a sellout by doing so, and that you don't have to be ashamed to be able to put food on your table and save some money.
Right. And as you'll hear, they also talk about passive income, which I kept trying to go back to because I think it's such an interesting model, but it takes a lot of the stress off of the necessary need to make money, you know, in doing what they love, thus allowing them to really be more selective and work on projects that they can, you know, get funky behind.
It's true. You'll hear about that on this Modern Craftsman Monday.
Uh-huh. And if you guys stick around, John gives a stellar tip all the way at the end of the podcast.
Very
Don't fast forward. Don't fast forward. You have to listen to the whole podcast. Is your background digital or is that painted on the wall?
Oh, no, it's a mural.
Oh, cool.
Painted. Yeah.
Very cool.
Same.
Mine's a green screen.
All right, so first off, you just said that you've had a podcast for 4 years?
Yeah, we stopped it last year, but we ran it for 4 years, had like 230 episodes, so we know how it is.
Why did you stop?
It's a lot of work.
It's too much work.
230. I mean, we're approaching that. Is that when we're gonna call it quits here?
I don't know.
What was the podcast about?
We interviewed other designers, lettering artists.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And probably very similar to kind of what the heck was that?
That was my shop. Keep going.
There was alcohol involved, so it was like informal. We'd be having drinks with the people we were interviewing, kind of just like a chat over drinks.
I like that.
Yeah. So, you know, when you don't remember some of the stuff you said, you're like, maybe we should take it down.
We had one of those that never aired.
Hashtag I wasn't drinking.
It was not. It was, but there was only one person drinking, and it was our guest.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Nobody else was
very
drinking.
Interesting.
And we weren't with him. It wasn't, you know, it was just he was on his own drinking a lot.
Walked off the podcast.
I think before the podcast, during the podcast, potentially after as well.
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna get with podcast guests.
So, for those that don't know who you guys are, how about a introduction?
All right. Well, I'm Roxy.
And I'm Phoebe.
And together we run a business called PANDR Design Co. We specialize in painting murals, both commercial and residential. We paint them all over the US and a few countries abroad. And we're just getting started.
A few countries.
That's all Nick heard.
Yeah. I'm like sitting here, I'm like trying to get the US under my belt. These guys
Trying to get Massachusetts under my belt.
Well, yeah, that's true. Boston, one town. And you said you're just getting started. How did you go from starting a business to doing this multinationally? Is that a word? It's a word.
Yeah. So
Just run with it.
Worldwide,
Worldwide.
globally.
Yeah.
we're all about outreach. So we cold email people, honestly. That's how we got a job in Tasmania, how we got a job in Texas, like how we get jobs anywhere. Now it's coming a little bit more naturally. We're in year 6 of our business, but so more people are coming to us, thankfully, rather than us having to do as much outreach. But we still do, like, we have a goal of painting in all 50 states. So, shout out to Kansas if anyone's listening. We need to paint there. We're always just putting the word out, and we say, like, if Coca-Cola has to do outreach, then so does PANDR Design Co.
That's cool.
So how's that work? You're just calling people asking if they want a mural done?
It's a whole targeted email strategy. So we have a beautiful presentation about why we're so amazing and why we help businesses through our artwork. And we have a really strong grasp on our business and our clients, and we know what industries we work really well with and see the value in what we do. So, say we want to go to Kansas, we're going to reach out to every commercial real estate company in the state of Kansas and send them our presentation, introduce ourselves, and hopefully get them on a phone call to chat more.
How's it going for you with Kansas?
Well, not so great. No, we haven't really targeted them too hard, but it's worked for a lot of other places. Like how so basically whenever we spoke at a conference or had a reason to travel somewhere, we try to make some money also while we're there. So like we spoke at a conference in Portland a couple years ago, and we, as Roxy just said, we know the industries that we work well with and are in the market for murals. So, emailed every business possible in Portland that made sense. And that's how we got a job with painting 2 murals for a PR agency. And then it's not so much a repeat business for murals, unfortunately. So that's one of the struggles that we have. But this company actually ended up, they're moving offices and they want us to come paint their new office. So we're going there again in this October. Or October, November. But so we make things happen. Make things happen, yeah.
Is it just you two?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we used to have a bigger team. We had a fantasy of having a bunch of employees. That's why we have a massive office for just the 2 of us. But when COVID hit, we laid off our employees and actually ended up having our most profitable year during a pandemic with just the 2 of us. So we're keeping our team lean, mean, and
we'll hire contractors here and there, and we delegate some things out. But yeah, it's generally just the 2 of us.
With the restructuring and kind of going back down to 2, you guys, you're talking about being more profitable. And interestingly, I feel like a lot of the creative spaces saw this peak in profitability. But what beyond business, what do you think was the biggest driver from that profitability? Do you feel as though, I guess I'm leading you into this, but it's like, did you feel as though the 2 of you could accomplish not more than your team could, but, produce, individually at a higher level?
Yeah, I think we realized once we laid off our employees and things really slowed down, we had the opportunity to chat amongst ourselves, really dive deep into the numbers of our business and figure out what our strengths were. We started leaning more into online resources that we sell. So creating more passive income and just only saying yes to opportunities that really make sense and help grow our business. So we figured out how to do more work with less people. And I'm sure you know employees are very expensive. So it was nice to not have those expenses as well.
So by offsetting the need for, as John has said, and as many said, feeding the machine, you're basically, the machine is these passive income things going on, like you said, digital market or digital tools, I assume, online courses and thing.
We do a lot of education. As you can imagine, there's a need for that in the creative industry of like how to run a business as an artist. So we sell contract templates, mood board and estimate templates. We do coaching here and there, and then a lot of webinars about outreach and pitching and all the business stuff that I think a lot of artists stay away from because it seems so hard to digest, but we make it digestible.
It's funny, in your form, I'm not sure who filled it out because Roxy and Phoebe's email is on it, but it says, we love talking about money and how creatives can make it. So that's probably...
Yeah, I think there's a stigma in the art world of making money off the things that you create, which we feel is very unfortunate because there is a value for art, and a lot of schools just teach you, if you're going to do art, be prepared to not make any money, to be a starving artist. And it's just not true because there is so much value in art. So we love talking about how creatives can be successful, can understand their own value so they can pitch it to their clients. So it's really important to us, especially as women too, who make less money than men. It's important for us to really understand our value as well.
How have you done that?
Yeah, by educating, talking about it, being very transparent about what we charge, what we charge for, our pricing, negotiating, licensing. We just
put it all out there.
Put everything out there to show other people what's possible so they can see like, oh, wow, I don't have to be struggling. I can actually make a living doing this. And it doesn't have to be choosing between happiness and your passion and making a living. You can have both.
I think the only part that I agree with all this, let's start with that, is that I'm trying to figure out is, like, I think talent has to be in the mix somewhere. Like, because everyone jumps on and goes, yeah, I want to be more valued. There's certain people that it is reality that they're only making so much because their talent only stretches so far.
I don't agree because art is so subjective. I mean, I see tons of art that I'm not a fan of, but there are some very successful, very popular people that I'm just not a fan of their art. I don't like it at all, but there is someone that loves it. And that's the great thing about art is like, there's people that just do really crazy things that are just,
and we say that all the time about ourselves. Like, we don't think we're the best muralists out there. We're just we're
good at finding people that like what we do.
And then the other way around, also, like, there's incredible artists out there who are just so bad at business. They're never going to be able to get themselves out there unless they have an agent, which we're all about, like, not having an agent because they take a major cut.
Yeah, there's definitely execution is very important. You can see from our work that we have a high, like, we want our work to look really good and high end, and being professional. We always teach this too. Being professional is so important, and producing high quality work is how you get high quality, big paying jobs. That's just so important.
We're really working on coaching artists, like how to talk to clients and ask for a deposit up front and like
get a contract.
No, you can't.
Very basic stuff.
You can't ask for more money halfway through the project because there's a paint shortage and whatever, like stuff like that.
I think what you guys are doing and who you're marketing towards, it's difficult because, as you said, art is very subjective, and everyone has their own perception of what art is, what they like, what they don't like. What you guys are putting out is an art that is very marketable, it's commercial in a sense that many people can look at what you're doing and enjoy it, and it speaks to them. It's not this like extremely nuanced art that's like fine art that unless you're in that world you don't understand, right? So I think being said, you guys are dealing with companies and businesses that don't look at what you're doing through an artist lens. So like you're getting kids who are talented artists but don't know how to run a business. But then when you're going to companies and you're looking to do business with somebody who's established and they have rules, they have principles, they have systems that work, you can't just kind of fly by the seat of your pants and be like, "Hey, I'm an artist," and show up with paint all over your clothes and be like, "Well, it's going to be this much and then this may change." Like you have to be professional. And I think that, the execution is one thing, and that's the art that you guys are speaking of. And you're saying that you don't think that there's going to be issues with execution. I think John's looking at it from more of like what we do, where somebody's selling something and then the execution isn't there, where I think what you guys are trying to apply to the masses is now taking these younger kids, and I mean, it could be, they don't have to be younger kids, but somebody who's looking to start their business based around art and have a professionalism with it. Because I mean, I'm sure, and this isn't meant to be stereotypical, but I know a lot of people who are artists who like have that, we're going to show up and you got to let me be. This is art. This is the way it's going to be. It's going to take time. This is my process. Where companies, big businesses may want to be like, well, we don't want to deal with that. Like, we need structure here.
Yeah, we get complimented on that all the time from big companies that are like, we've been trying to work with artists and like, we can't get pricing. We can't get a response. We don't know when they're going to come here. We don't know if we're going to see the design before they install it. So we just try to teach artists that you do have to build some structure if you do want to run this as a business.
Yeah, I think a lot of artists, especially coming up, getting through school and then furthering your education, where they want freedom. They don't want a corporate lifestyle. They want to be able to support themselves and kind of go with the flow and not be bound to society or societal standards. And I think that if you are looking to run a business, you have to understand how that works. You can't just be an artist. I mean, there's people who, they, for whatever reason, people's art speaks to them and they blow up, and but it's the fine art world. I don't necessarily understand all of that, but I would say that that's a different entity than what you guys are doing.
Totally.
I think about Trent Presler's podcast, and he talks about his first canoe he sold for $100,000, and it was subjective. It was art. And if you think about that, if he drilled 1 million holes in that canoe and then sold it, it's as art, it's art. Like, it's got 1 million holes in it. But as a canoe, like, it doesn't function. It wouldn't work. And I think about like John, like what we do, it's very much a mix between art and execution, where it's like that canoe would have to perform and be really beautiful. Where it's like when you look at it as art, it's completely subjective. Or like, if Phoebe and Roxy decided like, hey, I need my basement painted to stop the water. And we go downstairs and it's beautiful. It's got this cool mural throughout, and then it rains and water's pouring through. It's like, well, yeah, it's beautiful. It's artwork, but it's not doing what I needed it to do. And that's where I think that's where in our industry, that's what we're constantly up against.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a few different reasons why people hire us. So we do some residential stuff, and that's completely different than working with a business. It's more about what the person living there wants to look at every day. Whereas like if we did a mural for Visa in their offices in San Francisco, and that was something for their employees to look at every day, wanted to make the employees happy, bring color to the space. And then when we're doing an exterior facing wall, like we've done some work for Target, doing outside mural. And the point of that is to be a marketing strategy, something that people are going to come take photos in front of, post it on social media, share the location, and bring more people into the space. So there's different reasons why people hire us. And it's important for artists to think about that. Why would someone hire you, and be able to explain that?
Is
John, how's your audio?
By the way, we're all texting to try and solve.
Yeah,
this.
you sound
I think
great.
You're better.
Yeah, you're great.
I haven't done anything. Like my setup's like Velcro to my desk. Like nothing moves.
You logged off and logged back on. It sounds better now.
Yeah, you're great.
I guess I want to empower people as well to kind of reach for the stars. I get it, but I also want to make sure that, you know, it's almost it's tough. I'm saying this thinking about this situation, but also thinking about like my 14-year-old son, where I'm like, I want them to reach for the stars, but I also there's a certain point where you've bitten off more than you can chew, and that can be detrimental to the growth of your talent and your career. And it's a fine line, I guess. When like I'd love this to be a conversation between the five of us, but like I know there's people listening, and it's like I'm trying to think of those people as well in this conversation where it's like, oh, here we go again. Just empower everybody, and everyone's going to do a great job. And there's a reality to this is that some people shouldn't be doing what they're doing. And you're right. You're 100% right that there's amazingly talented people that don't know how to run a business. You're looking at one of them, and that's totally cool. And I'm working on it, and I'm going to get there. But you're right. And I think it's awesome. I really want to go back to your website and just, it's unbelievable. Like what I do love is what that TED Talk that you guys did. And it says it's okay to be an artist. And I would love to substitute that and be like, we could do a talk and be like, it's okay to be a carpenter or a builder. And I love that. So tell us about that talk.
Yeah. So TED Talks are very interesting in that they're highly, highly structured. It has to be a certain amount of time. You have to tell them exactly what you're going to say. There's a lot of practicing involved. So I think our talk is like 10 minutes, which is like the sweet spot for TED. But we really wanted to share, this was from a few years ago when we were first starting to build up our business and realize like, wow, we can actually be successful doing this. Like maybe I'll be able to buy a house one day because of my mural painting business. And going through art school and learning this profession and it constantly feeling like an uphill battle to even get respect for being an artist, a professional artist, we just wanted to, say something about that like, yeah, it's okay to be an artist. We constantly are hearing like art getting cut in schools and like no one, if you tell anyone you want to be an artist, it's like, oh, you want to be a starving artist or, we hear that all the time. So we just want to encourage people that it does have value.
We want to empower people.
I'm with you. It's just, but like we've had people on this podcast that are like, they want to tell that story of like, I was stuck on a couch for X amount of years because they want that struggle because they feel like it impacts their story. But it's like, it was your choice to be on the couch. No one told you to stay there. And that's the toughest part when you're talking to people that are hustling, that are trying to make this happen. And you try and use every ounce of every day to make the next day better or easier, however you want to put it. But yeah, I mean, I went to like graphic design and architecture when I was younger, going into college, and I love that. Like we have a cabinet shop, and I put my mural on the wall, and I was like, yeah, I could buy this in vinyl, but I do love that. So what you guys do is a love affair that I have. Is like, if I could do this on the side and like do a little graffiti and do murals, that's like the shadow lines, and to get it all right, that is like, even that little square behind you guys, that vanishing point, it's just like trying to figure that stuff out. Like if you were to see my IG, half of it's building, the other half of it's like this kind of stuff. So it was cool to find you guys.
Yeah,
Tyler,
that's awesome. We both went to school for graphic design, so.
Sorry, I was just gonna butt in and say, imagine we see John on the news for like graffitiing a bridge.
Yeah,
Dude, I would love that.
train cars. No, you guys definitely. I think that you've taken graphic design and kind of cemented it into more of a hands-on art base that's not digital. Which I think it's what you guys are doing. You're walking that fine line, and I think that that's the hang up that people have with art, is that it's got to be one off. You can't make money. It's this like I feel like people want to punish themselves to be artists, right? Like that's what I want to be. I don't want to be commercial. Yeah. And you guys are going to companies like Visa and Target and getting contracts to get paid probably decent money for for art, for what you're doing, and it's good. It's what needs to be done. And I think that the hang up that most people probably have is that like you are commercializing that in a sense, and you're going to these bigger brands that most artists want to be like, I'm not giving them my money. They're the enemy. Like we're not going to deal with them. But it is good to see people get out there and put their artwork out there and get paid for it, because it's your time and it's your talent, and you guys should be compensated for that.
Yeah, I've distanced myself from those type of people, but I went to the whole like freaky deaky art school, and
Aren't that all of them? Aren't they all of the art schools?
They vary.
they vary in how hipster they can
Yeah.
be. But yeah, I went to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn for 2 years, and I was like, I was the captain of my swim team. I don't fit in here. I'm too basic. And yeah, I'm sure like any of those classmates probably think I'm a sellout, like, or they're jealous. I don't know.
But yeah, we've heard of art teachers saying, if you actually want to be an artist, do not put anything on social media, because that's like selling out, and you only want to put your stuff in galleries and things like that. And it's just, I don't know. I just don't agree with it.
I mean, it's the same as like the music scene, right? Where people that like sign with a commercial label or a big, I guess isn't necessarily the case right now, but like if you make it on the radio, then you're successful. Now nobody likes your music anymore, which it's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy to me, because you work so hard to get there, and then you get there and people are like, well, you're not an artist anymore, or like, the only good bands are the bands that don't make money, where it's like, what are you talking about? It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that you guys that's probably a big hang up for you. But I think that bringing graphic design background into it, you look at all the guys and girls who do graphic design, and they're working for these big companies who are subcontracting them out to do work for them. And it's no different than what you're doing. You guys are just have more of a hands-on approach to it.
Yeah. Totally.
Going back to the TED Talk, you had said something, and I want to just try to clarify it. You had talked about, being in a position early on and realizing that, it was hard to get respect for being an artist. It was hard to figure out a way to make money. But then you at one point you also said that there was this realization of like, oh my gosh, I can make money with this. I can potentially buy a home doing this. Where was that? Where were those 2 points in relationship to the TED Talk?
Yeah, so
or the early TED Talks?
Yeah, one of the things a story we mentioned in the TED Talk was when we got our first mural job that was over $50,000. That was like insane. That was more than, like, when I quit my full-time job, I was making like $37,000 a year. So to book a mural job for $50,000 was kind of like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is insane.
Like a school teacher and take the rest of the year off.
Right. Yeah. So this project was in Houston, and after finishing it, we just felt so amazing and so empowered. And on the flight back, we were chatting up the flight attendant, and she asked us what we were doing in Houston. I think one of us was wearing a sweatshirt that had paint all over it. We told her we just painted all these murals in downtown Houston, and she was like, oh, like, do you actually get paid for this, or you just did it for fun? And we were just like, it's like such a high accomplishment for us. And then for people to just assume like, oh, this is just a hobby, you're obviously doing this for free. It just kind of stung a little bit, and we realized we need to just be talking about this more.
And then, a stranger on the flight overheard the whole thing, and he walked off with us. Obviously, this is pre-COVID. Walked off with us and was like, wow, that was like really weird of her just to assume that. And we're like, yeah, we get it all the time. It's like, we're used to it. But once he said that it was wrong, we're like, oh yeah, that is really wrong. Why is that the instant reaction we get from everyone?
So it was almost in response. It was like you realize this is something that's real, and you, like, right when you hit your first high, someone basically ripped it away from you, and you were like, all right, we need to create awareness around this. And am I putting that together right? And this is like, all right, we need to bring awareness to this, and the way we're going to do it is through speaking to people, social media, all of the ways that prior to leading up to this, you were told to do it differently. And I think, like, a lot of the industries, including ours, it's like everyone is in the, like, don't share what you do on social media. Don't tell people how to build a house, because then your competition is going to build the house. Don't share your art, because now you're selling out. It's like everyone. It's weird that we are having such a hard time adapting to a different, like, we live in a different world.
Well, people held their values tight because that's what made them different. And that's what made them exceptional, so they thought. But we've always said in all our talks is that, a rising tide raises all boats. And if you take that mentality, Nick's definitely been one that said it. Like, if I give away all the secrets and I become more valuable and then you do it, then guess what? The whole value of the industry raises. Not just, what we do individually, but and it has to. It absolutely has to. Like, we joke around on podcasts about how tech and AI are going to take over a tile setter's job, and it's never going to happen unless the values of what each of us do goes up. Tech won't creep in on us unless there's value to be made for a tech company to create that software and do that. I'm sorry. I would love it. It means when that creeps in, we've done our job.
Yeah.
Because now we're actually valuable. That a tile setter is making $85,000 a year. There's probably like 5 or 10 tile setters in the U.S. that make that kind of money. That they've promoted themselves and they've done that execution, that they made their craft valuable. Otherwise, craft in itself is something that someone can do at home. I'm crafting. I'm doing whatever it is. They think crafting is, wrapping gifts. This is what we do. It's something that's a talent that, I think talent gets lost when we're young, because talent is something you do for fun. That's something you're talented at. And then as you grow up, you have to let go of that to do what's, you're going to make a living at.
Right.
And what we're all doing here is we're making a living at something we have, a talent at and we have fun doing. So we always joke and say, it's not really work, but I think it's tough. And I think of it that way. Like, do my kids go to college? Is there a value there, or is it more valuable for them to get, school of hard knocks and to visit certain people that they find passionate? Like, maybe it's you guys, maybe they go do an internship with you guys for 6 months. They could learn what is in it and get to the nitty gritty of it right away. Like, hey, after 4 months, they go, you know what, this isn't for me. After going to school for 4 years and then trying to make money at it and pay off a debt, why would I go about that? As a parent, why would I put them on that road? When you can learn enough about people on social media to contradict those teachers. I had the same teachers in college. They're like, oh, you can't do this. And I'm like, I'm doing it right now in the real world. I'm working in between classes. Like, you can't tell me it's not doable. So I think it is, good for you guys to buck the curve and to put your voice out there, because people take shots at you, but just be you. I love that.
Yeah, and we are all doing what we love, but at the same time, running a business, there's so much stuff that you don't really love or enjoy that you literally have to do to run a business. So we just try to talk about that too, that like, it's not just painting walls all day. Like, there's other stuff involved in running a business that you have to think about, that you have to, you have to be able to pay taxes and all that not fun stuff. So just talking about that more, I think
it'd be nice if it was just painting walls all day, wouldn't it?
I don't know. We're
really?
We're like getting over painting too. We're ready to boss people around. And
I mean, so we just got finished painting our biggest mural ever. It was over 6,000 square feet, and we were able to paint it in 3 days. And our body is really hurt after that. So we need a little break. We physically cannot be painting all day, or I wouldn't be able to walk.
Like, I just don't want to be a grandmother on a ladder.
Yeah, you guys start renting equipment that you drive around to lift it down.
Oh, you're doing a lift.
Yeah, you get a man lift.
What you guys, what do you do after college? Was it like typical graphic design and then you transitioned to this? How did you guys get here?
Yeah. So we have different stories. I grew up on the East Coast, graduated from school there, and I had a fantasy of moving to California. So I just applied to every single job in the state, not knowing like what's what. And also I'd say like having no idea of salary and what was normal or the going rate. I just accepted the first offer just to get myself out here. They didn't pay for me to move out here. They didn't pay for health insurance. They didn't pay for anything. But I was just like, hell yeah, San Diego, let's do it. So moved out here, and I was designing. I worked for a women's cycle wear jobs. So I did catalogs, the actual clothing itself, like hang tags, all that, but didn't love the company culture. So switched there after 8 months, and then worked at another bike company, doing fenders, bike bells, socks, everything. That was actually a more creative job. But then after like 2 years, I got bored and realized there was no upward mobility. So being like the classic millennial, turned to Instagram, and that's where I stumbled upon this person and reached out to her. And I thought she was already working for herself. She was positioning herself on Instagram like a full-time freelancer, but she was tricking us all.
Yeah, I had a full-time, very, very boring, not creative graphic design job. Was working for the San Diego Union Tribune designing ads, and it was not fun, not creative at all. And this was early days of Instagram. I started just drawing and posting, drawing, painting, posting all kinds of stuff on Instagram that I wanted to be doing. And I started to build a following, and the more people that followed me, the more people were like, hey, can you design a logo for me? Can I buy this from you? And I always knew that I wanted to work for myself. So I saw social media as my tool to be able to get there. And that's when Phoebe had reached out to me, and we started doing some freelance projects together, both quit our jobs. And we didn't really think we were starting a business together. We just kind of thought we were both going freelance and going to work at the same coffee shop. But we started collaborating on all our projects together, and then turned it into an official business. And here we are.
Also, spoiler, Johnny, she didn't finish college.
Oh,
Tell that
man.
to your
What a loser.
My kids aren't asking; they're going to ask us for advice. And
Yeah.
I'm with you. It's funny that social media, by gaining. So I was working for other companies, and then I met these two goons, and then social media, creating your own personality on social media just because it's who you are, and then gaining traction and getting followers, and you get inquiries. How much of that gave you guys the confidence to leave those desk jobs or those day jobs?
100%. Like I
Right.
was making $37,000 a year living in San Diego. I was living paycheck to paycheck, had no ability to save whatsoever. So having a following on social media was the only thing I knew that I would be able to get more work. I literally could not save, but I just went for it.
Clung to Roxy's coattails.
She climbed on my back, and we just jumped out of the plane and whatever, made it work.
So what was your first job together? Was it mural, or was it something else? Yeah.
First, we had a goal of just painting one mural. Now we've painted 230 plus.
Yeah.
And your favorite one was the Phillies mural, right?
I guess legally I have to say that. Being a Philadelphian, but
are you? You're from Philadelphia?
That's
Where?
the only mural her city cares about the region, or her school, or anything.
Lafayette Hill.
Oh, nice. Pennsylvania suburbs. I'm from across the river in New Jersey.
Oh, what's up? We need Jersey. That's one of the states we need.
Really?
I know, it's offensive.
Tyler,
Damn.
you got a shop with a
You
big
guys
wall
do
on
it.
it.
You guys do it for free, right?
But yeah, our first mural was for Red Bull, which was an opportunity we just stumbled into and said yes to. They didn't ask if we'd painted a mural before, but we just said, yeah, we'll do this. And posted that on Instagram. Someone saw it, reached out and said they wanted a mural, and then continued happening, and then realized we weren't charging enough. We weren't making enough money to survive. So we started doing outreach and hired a business coach, and really dove into the business side of things.
I think that that's the hardest part about it is going, and we talk about it with us all the time. It's you start this business and you start it to design, or you start it to build, and then all of a sudden you're knee deep and you realize that you have no idea how to make money or run the business end of things. And now you're like backtracking, trying to figure out how to run a business. And you get to this point where it's like, well, now I spend as much time on the business, if not more, to be able to support what I actually love to do, which is difficult because it's like I didn't get into construction because I want to be running a business. It's the other way around, but like you have to understand how to make money or else you're just working for free.
Well, I think
Definitely.
this is the interesting thing, and you guys alluded to it, and I'd love to dig into it as much as we can, because the idea of having this opportunity in your business to sit down, the two of you, and rethink about what you're doing and how to offset the need for people, right? Where it's like, all right, we have this big team. We had this, as you said, fantasy of having a big team. But now it's like, well, we were more profitable when it's just the two of us. So how do we leverage what we do beyond being on a ladder painting? And it's like, it's abundantly clear on your website. It's like the talks, the consulting, the digital, tools,
Resources.
there's all these things that you can, as you said, make passive income with, where it's like, I personally am starting to like dabble into that for, because I want the same. I want my time to be more wrapped up in the creativity of what I'm doing and not having to be so immersed in the stuff that I'm not good at.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'll second John. It's like, I'm good at running parts of my business, but I'm really bad at running other parts. And it's like, and I shouldn't be focused on that. I should be focused on what I'm good at. So I want to unwrap that. But before we do, I just like led that up to like, let's talk about it too. Hold on. Let's hit the brakes for a second. I want to go back to the college thing. You had said that, one of you guys didn't finish college, but do you, there was like your instructors or professors telling you that, this wasn't going to be a good moneymaker or whatever. Do you guys regret going to college?
I wouldn't say I regret it because, I went to school for a few years, just taking every random class, not knowing what I wanted to do, and then dropped out, went to community college, started taking more random classes, finally took a graphic design class, and then had to start all over to start at graphic design school. And in the first 2.5 years of design school, I was just learning so much and absorbing as much of the technical side as I could, but wasn't learning like how to run a business or anything like that, because most graphic designers do freelance at some point or take on a freelance project, even if they're working at an agency. So having been in college that long, I was, financially not doing well. Like I needed to work. And so that was part of the reason I dropped out of school. But also I felt like I had all the technical skills that I needed to do graphic design. I just saw the classes I was being told to take as very redundant and unnecessary. Like we had to take 3 portfolio classes where you just put together a portfolio and your fellow students tell you what they think. 3 different classes of that. And I just found that to be a waste of time. I'm still paying off student loans. So like, I don't love that I have those still. And I think I could have left sooner, but there's just such a stigma also of not graduating college. Though since leaving college, not once has it ever held me back that I don't have a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And legally, I can't say I regret it. I'm so privileged. My parents paid for everything, and it was, I'm really, really lucky that they were so supportive. I transferred, so they still paid for the other school. Graduated with a graphic design degree, and yes, it got me a job, and it led me to where I am today. So I can't like regret any of that. But I think now there's a ton of information out on, like Roxy and I are teaching all the classes that you wouldn't need to go to college for.
That's how I feel. I mean, I feel the same way about my degree, is that I don't think it taught me the things I needed to run a business or even be in this business, but it led me to the opportunity of working for a company that then taught me things about this business.
What did you go for?
I went for construction management and graduated, and I got a job as an assistant superintendent doing high-rise construction, and was there for 4 years. And I learned a lot from the commercial side of running a construction business or a construction job. And inevitably, I met my wife because of it, because she worked in the same area, blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously, my life would be very different. And so for that reason, like, I don't regret it.
Right.
But I look back and I'm like, I wish it had taught me the things you alluded to it earlier, taxes. It's like if I knew I was going to get a $120,000 tax bill my first year in business, probably would have done something different. That was like, hey, this is due tomorrow. I'm like, okay, can I borrow the money from someone?
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's these like key parts of, you know, even just our industry that I just feel like are constantly lacking. And now you're exactly right. Between Instagram and TikTok, I learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I did something the other day. My wife's like, where'd you learn that? I'm like, swear to God, I saw this on TikTok the other day.
Dance move.
No, it's like
was it at Doug's wedding? She saw the dance move. She's like, Nick, where did you learn that dance move? TikTok.
Might have been twerking. Yeah, it might have been twerking.
I feel like I say every day, like, oh my God, I learned this cool thing on TikTok or Instagram or like I learned so much more. And I think you learn so much more by being in the industry and working, like so much more than actually just hearing about it in school and things like that.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I wanted to hear your perspective on college. But let's go back to, you know, making money as a creative. So when, you know, obviously in the times of COVID, is this really when you guys decided to look at it? Well, I guess the TED Talk was probably similar. Was that similar timing, or was that?
That was in 2018, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that was like your introduction to, you know, kind of promoting yourself as a thought leader in the industry. Apparently I made that word up last podcast. But
I think you did. Yep.
Yeah. When the pandemic hit, it was pretty scary for us because when the economy in the world is doing well, literally no business needs a mural. Like no one needs a mural. No one needs one. It's a luxury. It's just an extra thing. But a business is not make or break, or a house or anything is make or break from a mural. So we were like,
we're going under.
Yeah. How are we going to even make this work at all? And we didn't have work for the first like 2 or 3 months, but luckily our business, you know, we were doing well. We had quite a runway. So we weren't freaking out. We just took that time to really look at, okay, how much money do we make from murals? How much do we make from webinars? You know, really dive into our business and saw that we could be doing a lot more on the education side, which we leaned into more. It made sense being on the computer, everything being digital. And then we looked at what industries were doing well through COVID that could use murals, and, you know, commercial real estate, things like that were.
And I think prior to that, like we just were moving so fast. We didn't even have time to think about what we were even doing. It just was like, oh, it seems like the natural next step. Let's go. And it's just easier to make mistakes or just spend. Like we weren't really doing a deep dive. We hadn't had time to do a deep dive. And like, honestly, I mean, I feel like we're getting back to that now, which scares me a little bit. Is like, we're moving a mile a minute and like, we don't have time to really
diagnose our business,
diagnose what's going on. So
sounds familiar.
Yeah, I love that.
But so
all 5 of us.
So what was the structure of your business pre-COVID? Because now it's just you two. Like, what did it look like before that?
It hasn't changed a ton. I mean, we had
2 employees, and then a part-time person, and we were shifting away from us painting. We were basically had a bunch of sign painters all over the U.S. that we were calling on to hire to install murals for us, which was great. Would have been great if we continued to build that. But when the pandemic hit, it's like, it doesn't make sense to pay this person 40% of the cut when we can just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So we were really trying hard to make it not about Phoebe and Roxy. Like we wanted to be like one of these big agencies that you see out there. And it was a little bit of a struggle. It was clients would talk to us and see our faces. And then if we had Joe Schmo show up and paint the project, whereas for us, we're like installation, it doesn't matter who does it. It's just,
they really wanted us.
They wanted us to be
the face
there.
of the business on social media.
I mean, it doesn't help when the name of your company is PANDR, right?
But people don't know they don't understand that that's Phoebe and Roxy.
I definitely did not realize that.
Yeah. So good on you, Tyler. But yeah, so now we just had to kind of give up that it just has to be about us. And
I mean, we have
now
a book coming out, a potential TV show happening. So it's like, it's very much about us. So we had to like lean back into it being about us.
So and I think that that's very important. And we run into the same issues, and I know Nick and John do, where people hire them and they expect them to be doing the work, which is one thing when it comes to building. But I think when you're hiring somebody for, quote unquote art, and they deal with you, I think that they do want you. Like, they want you there, and maybe it's not you making every single brush stroke, but they want to ensure that like your personality and what you guys wanted is coming out in there, and then your seal of approval is on that. And I think it's so much tougher for you guys to basically let go of that, essentially start subcontracting other painters to do the work, and then you're taking on more of a volume because you have lower profit margins because you're not self-performing anymore. And then it's like the whole art thing is getting further and further away from what people consider to be art, which I think is going to be difficult for you guys, especially when your brand is built around you two, and when it has to do with painting. I think it is going to be important for a lot of customers that you guys have your hand in that.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
Come to terms with it. We accept it.
Yeah, which means like sometimes we do have to say no because we can't be everywhere, we can't be constantly traveling all the time,
or we'll split up and just one of us does the travel job, and then we do have an assistant.
Yeah, so you can only do so, and my business is structured the same way, and you can only do so much work. So you figure out what sort of lifestyle you want to support, and if you guys want to make X amount, or 2x between the two of you, and you have a lifestyle that you want to kind of move towards, you just need to figure out who your customers are. If you realize that you have customers who are willing to pay for you guys and what you do, then it's sorting out and finding those customers and telling other customers no. And at the end of the day, you're probably making a comparable amount to what you would be if you had more employees and doing more work. You just have less headaches. And if you create that desire for your product and for you guys, and those are the customers that you're in, the leads, that you're entertaining, you'll be able to support that lifestyle that you want. You guys just have to market yourselves that way.
Yeah, totally.
Going back to the beginning, one of the things that you said, I'm going to be stuck on this passive income talk the whole time. But that's okay, right?
Yeah.
You had said that you wanted to create more passive income so you guys could be more selective with your work. But later on, you kind of said that you kind of want to get away from painting because you don't want to be a grandmother on a ladder.
So Dad, you'd be the coolest grandma ever.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, I'm only gonna assume that you're far away from that grandma on a ladder. But what does that mean like today and as you grow into the business? Are you truly looking to get away from painting altogether? Like, how would you see the business
evolving?
Evolving.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have a book coming out in fall. Books are not like the most lucrative if you just have one book, unless you sell 1 million copies. That's where your listeners come in. But so opening new doors, a book deal could lead to other things, more books, potential partnerships, partnership with a paint brand or, those kinds of things. We are hopefully we're working on a TV show, hopefully would come out, and that would
be wonderful
in a different way.
At least we think. Money. We've never done it, so we don't know. And we are selective with jobs. Like, we said no to one person yesterday.
Celebrate it.
Yeah, we do choose what we want to work on, and I don't know. I was going to say that the mural process itself, it's funny. I'm like, yeah, let's just hire John to paint for us, because we like the idea of it, and we like starting it, and we like finishing, but the
It's
whole
so much work.
middle part. And again, that's what people don't see on social media is like all the stuff that goes wrong and you're exhausted and your feet hurt and there's nowhere to go to the bathroom and all those fun things. So
Yeah.
I don't see us doing that forever. We can't do that forever.
I mean, you can. Hey, you
Yeah.
guys. Hey, I mean, I don't know. I think that you can, obviously. It's just that it's a matter of how you guys structure yourselves and structure your time. If you guys part ways and you're doing two separate jobs at once and you're there ensuring layout is done right, and then you have labor who you're paying less money who can actually fill in that layout, and you guys are still supervising and you're not necessarily up on a ladder, and then you make sure that the job wraps properly, you make sure that there's a porta potty on site for when you get there. I think you guys could probably handle that. You know, it's probably splitting your time at that point where it's not both of you on site for each job, because now you have both of you on site and you're paying people to actually paint. I think that it's definitely doable. You guys have to figure out how to structure that.
This is amazing. The one guy in the podcast that can't delegate anything, that has to self-perform everything, is breaking it down on how you guys can grow.
I mean, I'm
It's
looking
kind of insane.
I'm looking at it from the sense of like, I understand what you guys enjoy doing. You enjoy the design. You enjoy that initial impact of basically, for lack of a better term, putting pen to paper, where you're seeing this kind of take shape on a wall. And then once you start connecting the dots, it gets boring for a while and it's like hard work and it's not fun and you're moving ladders around. And then you have the overall impact of when you're done and you step back and the customers are happy and like the unveiling and everything else. And I think that it is the type of thing that you guys can do a layout and then pay people to start infilling, but you're still going to have to be on the job for that. But you're not going to make money if both of you are on the job for that and paying somebody to do that. But I don't think both of you need to be on the job right now. Both of you are on the job because you need the manpower, woman power, empowered.
Yeah, no, that is true. And I definitely could see us as going in that direction more, especially just continuing to get bigger and bigger projects. Luckily, we do both really love the business side of things as well. Like, I never thought I would love negotiating and, pricing and all that stuff and contracts, but we both really love that side. So there really isn't too much in our business that we don't enjoy doing. So yeah, it is a little tough to delegate.
What is it about?
When it's going well, it's always enjoyable.
Yeah.
Everything's fun. Everything's
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Oh yeah, we've had.
It's like every contract is more money, so it's like, damn right, I'm writing it.
Yeah.
So, but as soon as it goes sideways, it's like, I want to go back to paint.
I just want to paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Just want to cut wood, make sawdust.
Well, what is it specifically about the business that you find enjoyment out of?
Well, I find a lot of enjoyment and satisfaction because I didn't really have any female role models of business owners. My dad ran a business my entire life and never once told me that I could run a business myself. It was only my brother and him that would have those conversations. So knowing like our business is pretty much on track to make $1 million this year, which I never, ever, ever imagined was ever possible. And so once we're hitting those goals, it just gets more exciting to hit even bigger goals and just show myself what I'm even able to accomplish, which I never would have imagined. And, we do have to do a lot of like fighting for ourselves, standing up for ourselves. Like I remember one time we did a project for the Minnesota Vikings and they were having some issues with our contract. And Phoebe and I had to get on the phone with Vikings legal team and fight with them. And they asked, "Did you guys go to law school?" And we're like, "No,
yes.
we're just dealing with this kind of stuff all the time." So it feels good to like have those vocabulary, that skill set under our belt to be able to like, fuck you, Vikings legal team. Like, no, this is not right. And, be able to feel like there's nothing that we can't do. It's just really exciting.
That is exciting. And that, I think that, as what John said, that's like when things are going well, and it is it's super rewarding to kind of stand up for what you believe in, fight for what you believe in, and come out on top of that. And you guys have created enough self-worth and business worth that you can do that. It's not always that way. You know, if you guys wind up on the opposite side of that coin toss, you're gonna be like, yeah, I just want to paint, you know, like I don't want to deal with all these lawyers and all that crap. So it's not always that way, but it is rewarding building the business and understanding, you know, that you guys can make money and that you're growing as a business, whether it's sales wise or your customer base is growing. Um, but I guess what I always try and kind of shed light on with Nick and John is to not lose sight of what got you there in the first place, right? Like what people are coming to you for and why they're hiring you in the first place, and that growth is essential. And that most businesses, you want to grow, but you just have to ensure that through that growth you're still kind of have your guns to your side and sticking with your principles and kind of not losing sight of what got you there in the first place.
For sure. Yeah.
Are you from California, Roxy?
Yeah, I'm from San Diego originally.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll all move out to San Diego. What do you guys think?
I love San Diego.
Come visit.
Is that what you guys?
Maybe we'll come help paint.
That would be great. We could use.
I would
I'm not
love
going to I'm not going to Kansas. Could you imagine
get me a
oh
onesie.
yeah, like come on, we're gonna come out and paint with you, and you're like, yeah, we're painting in Kansas. No offense to Kansas listeners, but that's not my number one spot to go offer my services.
We're gonna get a terrible review. Like, we really didn't appreciate Tyler's hatred for
Kansas.
Oh my
His
God.
tone was all wrong.
Nothing wrong with
They
Kansas.
should
We have
really quit
chickens
after
and
230
fields
episodes.
and.
It's
So
great.
tell us about this book. Why? How? I know it's
Yeah,
on Amazon because I just pre-ordered it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the book we've been working on for 3 years. It's a very long process when it comes to books. And the book is to teach people how to paint murals in their own homes. We did 26 different projects that you get walked through step by step of how to do it yourself, go through all the supplies. Any question you could have about murals, we hopefully answer it in this book.
We originally were reached out to do a book about lettering, which is super niche area of like graphic design, but that's what we started out doing. And a lot of our murals have lettering in them, but we're just getting away from that. Anyways, we got approached about doing a lettering book, and we were like, no, there's a million of those out there. And then we learned that it's weird in the publishing world. They don't want to do books about things that aren't already popular. So pushing to do a mural book was hard because there aren't many out there, which for us, we're like, oh no, that's a hole in the market. We should fill that. So hopefully we'll prove everyone wrong and this will be really successful. And
in order for our publisher to sign on, it had to be under the interior design world of like customizing your home, DIY. That was more digestible for the publisher, but we ended up really loving what we were able to do, and hopefully people do as well.
We wish it could have came out last year when everyone was actually stuck at home and was like working on I think that it's never going to go away. Like people are now invested in their spaces, and again, just trying to empower people and make it something that everyone can do, and it's not this really crazy, complicated, scary thing.
So you guys know a lot of sign painters throughout the country? I follow a couple sign painters on Instagram, and I love watching a lot of guys who do like window fronts for either restaurants or tattoo shops that are opening, and I see their crap and I'm like, I wish that I had branded my company in a way that like everything could be hand lettered.
Yes.
But like it's not, like, you know, at this point it's not that way. It's like a little cleaner, and vinyl works great for like kind of what my brand is, but I always wanted to have everything like hand lettered and painted, and it's so cool looking. I like love watching their stuff. I could go on a deep dive and like, oh man, painting like glass, it looks so cool.
Yeah,
I'm
we love
jealous.
working with sign painters because they are trained to replicate exactly like paint a logo exactly how it is. So there's never any issues with them painting our work, which is really nice.
There's one in Boston, Best Dressed Designs
Mhm.
or
Yeah,
Signs.
yeah,
So they a friend of mine owns a bowling alley in Boston, and he had the whole side of the building done, and it was like I would take that ride home just so I could see like the progress they make every day,
Yeah.
and it's
yeah.
just super cool.
Yeah, we just want more murals everywhere. I mean, it really does make a difference. We get people reaching out to us like, yeah, on my commute, instead of looking at this gross wall, now I get to look at something beautiful and see some color when I'm stuck in traffic. And it's just great that it is so accessible for people to see our work and see that it does actually make an impact.
So how are you guys I'm thinking, I look at murals that I drive by or older murals before people could take computer software and like scale a design on a wall, like how they used to do it before all of that, right? Where it's like, I have a massive wall and I'm going to paint something that's going to be like properly scaled. And I feel like I would like if I had to paint a human on the side of a building, it would be like all body and a really small head, or the proportions would be really screwed up, right? And a computer would help so much because you can measure the building and then do mock-ups of it. How are you guys like? Have you ever tried doing that without software? And also, I'm curious how you guys are taking that software and then putting it on the building, so that everything is kind of the way that your design is intended.
Yeah.
So majority of the time we can't use a projector, unfortunately. Like the big one we just did that she was saying was 6,000 square feet. It's
Yeah.
35 feet tall. It was in a brewery, and so there was all this equipment right behind us, so we couldn't even get far enough back. Like it was really
So people use a projector a lot of times.
yeah.
Oh, that's
what I did.
Projector. So we draw everything on our iPads in an app called Procreate, and then we just like as a JPEG, we'll project it up onto the wall. We use what's called a short throw projector, so you don't have to actually back up too far
Yeah.
from the wall. But still, depending on how big the wall is, we have to split the design up sometimes into a couple parts.
We probably do that about 25% of the time.
Yeah, and then there you go.
Yeah.
Then when we're not doing that, we'll
Or to do the really big ones, like you're saying,
Yeah.
we'll do what's called the doodle
doodle
method.
method.
So basically, you just draw a bunch of random shapes, doodles all over the wall, like hearts, stars, rainbows, whatever you want, all over the wall. And then you take a photo of it. On our iPads, we will overlay the artwork so we know, okay, the eyeball goes from
Yeah.
this issue to whatever, which is a lot easier than taking the time to create a grid. It's a lot easier to just have these very specific one-off shapes that you could quickly trace out the design, freehand it on the wall based on the shapes that are on there. And that saves us so much time.
Or if it's cinder block or brick, we'll count bricks, count
Yeah.
cinder block. That's a grid in itself. And is there any other ways we do it?
We just try to design really smart. Like
Yeah.
we will either design it on the photo of a wall or just really think about how we're going to be able to install it while we're actually designing it. So it's not like, oh shit, we designed this super intricate thing and we can't project it.
Yeah.
You know, we really think about it before we design it.
The Phillies one, we counted bricks. We didn't
Really?
project them. Yeah.
That's cool though. I feel like it would be so difficult to do that if you weren't able to like take a photo of what you're just the scale of those things. It's not like you're sitting with a small piece of paper or a notebook, and to
Like,
make
you're not
that like
looking at
right, like
you're
to
not-
make
you're
that
not looking at the
fit
whole
right,
thing all
where
the
it's like,
time.
oh, all right, I just painted or drew this design on a piece of paper. Now I need to put it on the side of a building, and it's like, well, yeah, it looks good on a piece of paper, and now I put it on a building, and there's like not enough there at all. Where it's like to scale that down, I feel like it could either look really busy or not busy enough.
Yeah, it's definitely, we've done so many different shapes, size, material buildings that at this point where getting it on the wall is the easiest thing. A challenging one we did last summer was we painted a silo that was 26 feet tall, and being a cylindrical surface, it's like, even if we measured it out perfect, it looked weird from below. So we had to
it's
kind
like
of
warped.
eyeball to make it look right and just keep getting down from the lift and standing back and making sure it didn't look like it was being warped, you know.
We end up using dry erase markers on it because we could easily wipe it off.
Yeah. I mean, that all comes with experience, right? And I feel like that's where the actual art comes into it. Where like, so, I mean, like you look at tattooing and you're tattooing, there's nothing flat on a human body, right? So if you draw something on a piece of paper and then just put it on somebody and tattoo them, it may look super dumb because like the shape of their body, or it should work with that shape. It should work with the way that the building's laid out. And like I've even seen people who have been doing it for so long where they like draw something and compensate for like stretching or when they move, and then they'll like get them up and move their arm or their leg the way that they want to ensure that it's kind of stretching and warping the way that they want it. And like a lot of people who have done it for so long can do that and know the way that something's going to warp, that they don't need to spend so much time like, all right, move this way, move that way. And that's just experience, where it's like you go to do a silo, and now I'm putting a flat shape, essentially a two-dimensional object, on something that's three-dimensional and round. And it's like, well, what's on paper does not work for this at all. It's like, may have underbid this one.
Yeah, that's where those are the things you learn doing it over and over and experience. And there's times where we've messed up and we've learned so much from those times. And yeah, it just comes from experience.
I guess the good thing is, you know, your process is very organic, and you're starting and you're probably doing like outlines first, right? Or layout and then outlines and then infilling. So it's not as if you're getting this entire thing done and then standing back and being like, oh, we really botched that. That doesn't work at all.
Yeah. And I mean, worst case scenario, wait for it to dry and just paint over. There's really no, like, it's not really high risk unless we get paint on something that's not supposed to have paint on it. That's really where we can mess up.
Yeah. Do you guys use special paint?
We just used house paint, interior, exterior.
God, the perfect line would have been like, we have our paint line that comes out.
Yeah.
I know.
next month.
Yeah.
Just
Seriously.
saying.
Yeah. One day.
There you
Soon.
go.
Yeah.
More passive income.
Yeah.
So I don't think you answered. How did the book, like, what was, how did that even come about? I get what it is.
Yeah.
And you didn't even shout out the name. The name.
Oh,
of it,
yeah, Wonder Walls.
Wonder Walls. Got a cute little English bulldog on the front of it.
Yeah. So we got reached out to do that lettering book, and we said no. It was also a really, really, really bad deal. Like they wouldn't even give us royalties on the book. It was just really shady.
So they reached out because they had found your social media or something like that. And was like, hey, we want you guys to do a lettering book.
Yeah. So we ended up saying no to that, and then got approached, oddly enough, by a book agent who followed us as well. And she's based in San Francisco. We happened to be doing a project up there for the Giants. So we were able to meet with her in person. It seemed like a really good fit. And she helped us put together a proposal for what the book would be and pitch it to all the different publishers. And Story Publishing out of Massachusetts said yes. And we negotiated a deal and have been working on it for the past 3 years, and comes out early November. We're super excited.
That's awesome. The typography thing, or like the lettering.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen that show Abstract on Netflix? I feel like
yeah,
right.
So
there's one about typography.
Yes.
And it was super interesting. And one of the parts that I thought was really interesting is watch type, or a typeface, I guess they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And on watches, how when I think it's the number 4. They only put the 4, like they only draw or write the 4 in that fashion only on watches. And like they zoomed in and they started talking. It was just really interesting. And what I love about that show is it uncovers the art behind all of this stuff, all the way down to lettering and just it's a really interesting show. And when you started talking about the lettering, I remember that. But you guys were also on Netflix.
We're in an.
I knew you'd laugh when I asked.
Yeah, I'm sure you've all seen it. It's like really,
I haven't. I'm going to watch it tonight, though.
One of the most random opportunities we
Yeah.
got, which also took place years ago and just came out this year, which was
And it
a
came
surprise.
through a DM on Instagram. So yeah, it all comes back to Instagram. Found us on Instagram, and yeah, we drove out to an animal sanctuary outside of LA and painted a mural for people to take photos with. And
The show's called Pets on Cue. We're on episode 4, I think it is. But
and it says monkeying around.
Not that we really know, but the minute mark is.
It's Pets
Yeah,
on Cue,
exactly.
not Pet
It's-
Stars.
they're only like 20-minute episodes, I think, and it's like it's towards the end. Whatever. We get introduced in the beginning and then we come in at the end. And there were monkeys crawling on us.
You guys might be our most famous guest so far.
one day, yeah.
So
Pets on Cue?
Mm-hmm.
Or no, it's called Pet Stars.
Oh,
Pet
Pet
Stars.
Stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what their business is called, is Pets on Cue.
Yeah.
So you're talking about? I assume that this isn't the big break. So there's another show possibly in the works.
Yeah,
Yes.
but we can't jinx it.
We can't say too much about it, but we are working with a company that a lot of people have heard of about a show.
Okay, cool. Will it be about your business or about the business behind your business?
It's going to be about it's basically a docuseries about us
Cool.
going from the start of a project, working with clients, and then the installation. So we're excited for that.
And what's the company you said? Trying to see if I can get them to slip.
Hopefully
John
it's
and I
Chip and
didn't
Joanne.
laugh. We probably would have had it.
Yeah.
So all right, I'm bouncing around. Back to the book. So you said,
Dude,
about
you want to put out a book, don't you?
Oh, definitely.
He's like,
I'm
asking
already
all the book questions.
I got all the chapters mapped out.
Yeah.
We can tell you everything not to do.
Great. Will you email that to me right
Yeah.
after this podcast?
Yeah.
But you said that you can't really make good money with just one book. So
So we hear.
So you hear, unless
Yeah.
all 1 million of people that are listening right now go to Amazon and buy Wonder Walls. Comes out in November.
So yeah,
There's
we've learned a lot about the book industry from being in it. You get an advance, but you have to pay that advance back with book sales. And until we pay that advance back, which happens to be selling 6,666 books, then we will start to make $1 per book. So, not, the book's $25. We make $1 a book after we sell 6,600. So, we'll see how it does. It's a
challenge.
Experience. Definitely a challenge. It's very weird to write about what you do and create step-by-step, explain why you do what you do is a challenge for sure. But luckily we had a good editor.
And we have a few friends that have written books. So it was interesting, hearing about the advantages to self-publishing versus working with a publisher. And I hope we chose the right one. We went with a publisher.
But yeah, it seems like if you have 5 books, you're more likely to start to feel like it's making a difference.
They all feed off of each other.
Right. Now, do you think, looking back to when you started, do you feel as though everything that you've done to date and what you might see in the future with TV has been a natural progression?
Yeah, I mean,
so.
For the most part, we really didn't have a plan or any expectations or, when you run a business, a lot of people are like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Well, 5 years ago, we would have had no clue where we would be today. So we've kind of just rolled with it and said yes to every opportunity that's come our way. And now we're really starting to dial in on, what we do want the future of our business to look like. Yeah.
Yeah, we did the podcast thing for a bit, and then we also started a nonprofit. So I guess we have to start something else new soon.
I think from
Nick, they are like you. They have a lot going on.
Yeah.
Well, I think the going back to the business thing, how you enjoy running a business, when you start realizing, like you said, you went into it with not a plan. You knew that you were going to make forward momentum, but you didn't know exactly where you would be in 3 years, 5 years. But when you start seeing all that stuff come together, and then you start reflecting back on the decisions that you made, put you in the position that you are today, And you start considering, well, if I make this decision now, that could potentially lead me to this and that, and like, you know,
Mhm.
5 books, 10 books, a
Yeah.
TV show, a movie, you know, a paint line, you know,
Yep.
that every sign painter in the US uses. You know, I
Yes.
think that's, you know, I think that's, from an artist standpoint, probably a very unnatural, you know, progression as far as business. But I think you know, something John said earlier, it's like you guys have really done a good job of kind of navigating away from the status quo as an artist.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely would have been very overwhelming to think about everything that we're doing now back when we started, but it has been a natural progression. And, you know, we couldn't have handled doing everything we're doing now back then, but now we are able to juggle so many things and see that, yeah, one thing does lead to another and you never know what's coming your way. And so we just like those unexpected opportunities.
Yeah, we tell people like try to conquer one thing, get good at that, and then move on to the next, and then the next and the next. Otherwise, it gets too crazy.
Well, your attention, you know, you end up putting 10% of your attention into everything rather than 100, you know,
Right.
to get through it. Which
Yeah, you
is,
got to focus.
it's kind of like the mural, where it's like you like starting it and like finishing it, but it's like that's 5 and 5%. You know, the other 90% is like it's very easily to kind of want to walk away from it and just come back and do the final touches. You know, looking at like the workshops and things like that, do you see that as an avenue of being able to, for lack of better terms, collect people that you would be able to, you know, you're basically, I'm guessing you're teaching people that want to get into this, but having that be an opportunity to basically be self-serving in the sense that you teach someone and then they become really good, and then it's like, hey, you know, we got this big mural, we'd love to hire you. Is that
Oh
kind of
yeah.
the premise behind that?
Yeah, I mean, we just strive to put out the resources that we didn't have when we were getting started because, you know, we had no idea what we were doing. So we just put out the resources we wish we had when we were getting started, but it does help to make those contacts and to meet people that we wouldn't have otherwise met. We have one sign painter that, you know, we fly her all over the country to come help us because we just work so well with her. And we found her through taking some of our webinars and helping us volunteering for our nonprofit. So it is great for making connections and meeting people for sure.
What is the nonprofit?
It's called Ladies Who Paint, and it started in 2018. We host an all-female mural festival here in San Diego, and it's also an Instagram account. So we just feature artists, female artists from all over the globe. We, like many things, just feel like there needs to be more of a spotlight on the female talent out there. So Roxy and I participated in a mural festival. Oh, for those of you who don't know what a mural festival is, we realized like people imagine Coachella, and we're like, no, that's not what we're talking about. So different cities will put them on, and it's basically like a big public art installation. So multiple murals going up all over a city. So we participated in one, and it was 40 artists and only 5 were females. So we felt like that ratio was really off, and we got a really shitty wall, and it was behind like in a back alley, and just wasn't a great experience. So we flew home and we're like, all right, we can do one way better. Let's start this Ladies Who Paint thing, which was already an Instagram account at the time. And then we brought 10 women from all over the globe to San Diego. That was 2019. I get so confused with COVID. I'm like, what year was what? And we took off last year, and then we're doing it again this year. This year is just only San Diego artists to avoid travel. But we're putting up 11 more murals around San Diego. Growing up in Philly too, it's like an added thing. I was like, there's so many murals all over the city, and they have not the best painting weather year round. And so I'm like, what the heck? San Diego has pretty much perfect painting weather, outdoor painting weather year round. So we need more public art. People are outside all the time. We need more of it. So there's lots of things going on.
To switch gears a little bit, I'm curious as to You guys are looking to empower everyone and kind of um not in a bad way, right? But like you're trying to kind of um broaden your reach and make what you're doing more approachable, more attainable for people. How are you kind of walking that line where you're not diluting what you're doing, and you're kind of still upholding the integrity of what you're doing while also showing people how to do things? Because I guess what comes to mind is like people painting their nurseries and trying to rip off kind of what you're doing, and they get done with it, and I'm like, yeah, that's just not the same. It doesn't look good, you know? Where like that crossover for me and kind of like opening yourself up to have those people, and not that they're in the same category, but I feel like it kind of dilutes things some, right? Where it's like you still want to keep yourself at this level where not everyone can do it, but you do want to help, broaden your reach.
Yeah, there's a lot of frightening murals out there.
Right? But I guess what comes to mind is like I'm thinking of all like the geographic patterns and like
Yeah, yeah.
and then like I just, we're at the age where people are having kids, and I feel like everyone right now is putting these murals up in their kids' nurseries, and they're so bad. And I'm like, they're missing the mark. Maybe they just need more of you guys.
They need a copy of Wonderwalls.
Yeah.
Right?
We really tried our best to make it approachable for beginners. As Nick, you will be able to execute one. There is a range of different skill sets in there. So there are some like you've never even touched a paintbrush. You could do this. Don't worry. And then, as we say in our book, if it looks terrible, you can just paint over.
But when it comes to dilution, like, I don't know. I don't think I'm worried about that. There's always people that are going to try it once and then they realize it's not for them and they move on to the next thing. So, I don't know. There's always been bad art out there. So I don't think it's like this new problem. Maybe Pinterest has helped it a little bit, and TikTok. Like you see all those Pinterest fails and things,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I'm not so worried about it.
But
I
it's
mean,
also like
we have to check ourselves too. I mean, like we're human. We get somewhat threatened or jealous of other muralists out there, but at the end of the day, there's enough work for everyone. And going back to like the rising tides raise all boats. So like, I don't know. It's just we have to remind ourselves like it's a non-issue.
I feel like let them give it a shot, and then if they don't do well, they're gonna hire you.
right. That's what I was gonna say. It's like
They realize how intricate and how tough it is.
Yeah.
Knock your socks off. I used to say to people when I was younger, "You can call me before, you can call me after, but either way,
Right.
you're gonna call me."
Just don't call me late for dinner.
I like that. Yeah.
yeah, it's like like all these how-to videos. It's like, and going back to something John said earlier, it's like one of the things I've always believed is that if we position ourselves to be the person that's giving all this information away, and she was like giving the how-to on doing putting up murals. It's like if you position yourself to be the professional or the expert at it, and you always take the stand to give, you're the only person people are going to think about when they do try and they fail. Like John said, they're going to call you and hire you, or it's like they're going to like read that book and think, man, these girls know what they're doing. You know what? I appreciate reading the book, but I'm just going to call and have them do it because it's going to be even cooler because I know who they are. They've given all this back to the industry, and it's well deserved. And
I'm just thinking, I'm not worried about everyone else out there. I'm worried about our mental health because we are constantly giving advice and tips and tricks and trying to change the world. And or at least for me personally, I'm like, all right, you can't help everyone. It's just not going to work that way. So we have to worry about ourselves.
how does that, like, what are you relating that back to your mental health, that you feel as though you're not just doing enough?
Ladies who paint, like that's a huge undertaking, and our business, like we're just such helpers. Like, yeah, we really are trying to help people. And so like we get DMs constantly asking for advice, and like sometimes we just need to not check our phones.
Doesn't it say no DMs, please email?
Yeah,
Oh,
but people
it
still do.
doesn't.
People don't listen.
Yeah. They
It's
don't.
like, it's
So
gonna
I just
DM
wount
right now.
respond to those people. You can't follow directions. I'm not helping you.
Tyler,
Yeah.
you don't respond to them anyway.
I know that's also true.
But they don't know what kind of paint
But
to
at least
use
I'd
in
have an
person.
excuse.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I'd have an excuse. I'm putting that in my email or in my signature. Is that what it's
profile?
called?
Yeah.
I'm putting that in there now. So now I don't have to feel so badly
Please no
Yeah.
DMs.
for not getting back then. Please email me, and then I won't respond to that as well.
Yeah.
Not taking inquiries.
Once you
anywhere.
email me, it's going to say, please send handwritten letter.
Facts only.
Exactly. I'm going to skirt out of this somehow. Do you guys find coming from a graphic design background where, you know, everything's controllable and you're working on, you know, whether it's a computer program or your iPad, and it's like a perfect situation, and then you're now trying to take your art and put it in a real world application, that you have trouble going from one to the other and worrying about how that translates, as far as like, yeah, so this looks great on my iPad, and then I put it on a building where now these like very geometric shapes and lines don't look as perfect as they did on my iPad. Or is that something that, you know, you guys just understand that that's your canvas?
The thing that we're really lucky about what we do is that everything does look better, bigger. Like you can just, I mean, a prime example is a pink building in LA that has a line around the block constantly of people wanting to take photos. Like just having big blocks of color, like it literally chemically in your brain makes you happy to see art and to see color in a space that's unexpected. So even if it doesn't look perfect, it's still, because it is larger than life, it makes an impact, and it, you know, not everyone's going to like it, but for the most part, it really does translate well, and people do really enjoy it.
So it
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say our clients are kind of underwhelmed by the mock-ups, but when they see it in person, it's such a game changer.
yeah. So I guess I'm thinking of it from a personal level, where it's like, where do you draw the line? Pun, no pun intended, right? But like, you're doing this stuff and on paper it looks perfect, and then you're putting it on a building, and these lines, when you take it all in and you look at the scale of it and it looks perfect, but then you walk up and you can like dissect every brushstroke that's not perfect. Like, where do you draw the line there for yourselves? Or is that like your personality isn't that type, or it's like, this is good enough, this is going to translate well? And also like getting through that with the customer, because I could see customers standing over your shoulders being like, that line's not perfectly straight, and you're like, listen, this is going to look great when it's done, right? But like, getting from A to B, from in between initial mock-up to final completion, it probably doesn't look that great, and then like you take it all in as a whole and it's like, yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, so that's something we talk to our clients about early on, is that this is hand painted, and there are definitely some benefits of it. It does feel more authentic than just printing a vinyl. So we try to sell the clients that the hand doneness of it is actually adding to the value, and they get to see, you know, time lapse video of us installing it, and just see that process, that like, this is handmade. It's not supposed to be perfect. I mean, we're going to make it look really good, but it's not going to be 100% perfect. Clients often get hung up on like, you know, their brand color is this certain Pantone color, and we're like,
No,
we can't match colors
Yeah.
perfectly. Paint does not work the same as the millions and billions of colors you can do on your computer. So we just try to sell our clients on the value of it being hand done and authentic, and why people like that.
I'd say in the beginning of our career, we were more cuckoo about like making everything perfect,
Yeah.
but now we don't care as much. We still care,
We
but
care, but we know
Artistic
that.
freedom.
No, and so I oftentimes relate stuff back to getting tattooed or tattoos, and it's like, that's not supposed to be perfect. Like, people who want them to be perfect are people who don't have a lot of tattoos, who don't understand how to be a good customer, that it's a hand applied art, right? They're like, like, I need it to look exactly like this. And then the longer you get in that experience, you realize that that's not necessarily what it's about. It's about the experience. It's about somebody kind of portraying what they believe it's supposed to look like and having a looseness to it where it doesn't need to be absolutely perfect. But that takes years of being a customer and getting tattooed to realize that, right? Where you go to somebody who's getting a mural and they're paying a lot of money, and it's the only time that they've ever gotten a mural and are going to, and having those customers and being able to articulate, hey, this is hand done, you're going to have to understand there will be defects. It's more about the entire mural when it comes together as a whole, that people, they don't understand that. And that's going to be tough, especially when you guys first start your business, until you have enough confidence in what you're doing and in your product, that, hey, this is as good as it gets, and this is the way this is supposed to look, and this is supposed to be hand done and not perfect.
Yeah, and I think that comes with the personality of the client too. Like, I have a tattoo of a pocket watch, and then their numbers are messed up on one of them, and like, because I love tattoos and I'm an artist, like, it doesn't bother me. It reminds me of that memory and that time. Whereas I'm sure someone with a different personality type might freak out and they might think my tattoo is ruined. I'm going to sue the artist or whatever. So we've had the 230 murals we've installed, we've had 2 clients literally have the printout of the design and like stand there and look at it and look at it to make sure it's perfect. So the amount of great clients we've had that are just like love what we do, to the 2, out of 230 that are like crazy.
But you still remember those 2, right? Like, you don't remember all the 230, but you're like, you'll never forget those 2.
I know. Yeah.
I don't remember who they were.
The Orange County garage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it does.
Lots of smiles.
Luckily, it doesn't happen too often, and yeah, I think we're very authentic in explaining to clients what we do and why it has value, and never saying it's going to look exactly perfect.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's ensuring that that's just managing expectations at that point and ensuring your customers are on the same page.
Yeah.
And having a clause in our contract.
Yeah.
That too.
Do you find that with your clients that sometimes they feel like, what you guys do is hand done too? Like, do they ever get clients freak out?
Yeah, usually every day.
Oh no.
Oh man.
It depends. That's why I choose to remain small, so that I can sell something and control that process in order to execute as close to humanly possible as what we sold them, right? I think that when you take yourself out of that, it becomes harder and harder to execute at that same level. So I prefer to remain smaller, do smaller projects where I can self-perform more and more trades and kind of control the outcome, because I know that, the way that I've realized I can make money being small is by executing as close to what we designed as possible. It creates a little bit more headaches for me, but I can do less work. I can make higher profit margins on my jobs, where you get to people who are doing larger work, and it's harder to execute on that level. And when you get those customers who like, hey, you said it was going to look like this, and then you're spending countless amount of hours and dollars backtracking to get as close to what you kind of propose to that customer as possible, where you're really you're kind of going down a hole and spiraling, and you can't ever get back there. So it's I think it's the same thing as you guys. It's managing expectations going in. If you walk in, you tell somebody this is going to be this great or this close to perfect, and you don't perform, they probably will be disappointed.
Yeah, it's hard.
I probably deal with it less. Whenever I feel badly about my projects or something that's going wrong, it's always a very small thing, and in my mind it seems huge. Like, I make mountains out of molehills, and it seems like this huge project, and then I just get a hold of Nick or John, and they're like, oh yeah, we had this happen that's astronomically worse than my situation, and it costs way more money, and I'm like, I don't really feel that badly anymore. my
Yeah.
my worries are
Glad we can
gone.
make you feel good,
Yeah,
Tyler.
like the last time Nick was like, I had a utility pole catch on fire, and I was like, oh, all right. Yeah, my little issue's not that bad.
Yeah,
funny.
it is.
I was thinking about that job the other day, or I was thinking about that fire the other day, I should say, not the job.
Oh my gosh.
Is there a cat?
Yeah, that is nice having the two of us, because usually we're not freaking out or stressed out at the same time, so we can talk each other off the ledge.
Look who's here.
Sorry, everyone just got home, including the cat.
Oh, what's the cat's name?
Cat's name is so my youngest daughter, who's here, she's Tilly. She wanted to name it Percy, and my older daughter Selby wanted to name the cat Salami, so we named the cat Persalami.
I love it. That's great.
Cool.
She's got an interesting name. All right, girls. Sorry for the interruptions.
It is funny the whole handmade thing. I was telling Tyler and John about a project we're doing right now where we're in the paint stage, and that's exactly what we're dealing with. The client has extremely high expectations, and we had done a walkthrough, and I got a text the next day saying, hey, there's still this place needs a ton of work. And I'm like, what are you, like, this is literally the best paint job I've ever seen. I was like, no problem, let's I'll meet you over there tomorrow, we'll walk through the job. And we literally walked around for 2 hours with his cell phone light, and he was pointing out, microscopic holes. He's like, that needs to be filled. And it's like, and it's on that particular job, it's T&M for the paint. It's like, you want to pay for the time, no problem. Like, if you want him to really go there and fill, he's in the car industry. He inspects body work. And I was like,
oh,
listen,
God.
Jesus Christ.
You should have ran away.
And he went with the iPhone light?
Well, yeah, that's what I said. I had a $700 like paint inspection light. I was like, you want this? He goes, no, I'm good. I'm like, because this thing shows way more than that thing. But hey, if we're good with the cell phone light, we're good.
Trying to
upsell. But I was like,
Yeah.
listen, yeah, I know. He was like, you probably charged me for that. I'm gonna check the receipts. But it was I had to say, I was like, listen, this isn't manufactured sheet metal that's sprayed by a robot. This is hand troweled plaster painted by humans. And he, like, the good thing is he's nice about it. Like, he gets it, but he's just like, he's basically pushing to like, how good of an execution can we get out of like us? And he's got it. And like, the entire team, like, not one person has been like, this is ridiculous. Like, okay, yeah, we'll keep pushing. And it's like, you walk in that place and it's like, it's to a level where it's like, this has been detailed over and over and over. But it's that, I don't really struggle with it. I'm just like, yeah, no problem. Like, we'll do whatever you want, because it's like, it's just a challenge for me. But there's definitely points where it's like, all right, this is getting to a point where, the level of expectation just doesn't make sense. Like, there's not enough money in the world, or it does, like, you're not going to see the benefit on the other end.
Yeah.
Especially when somebody moves their furniture and bangs the wall.
Oh, that's what I said. I was like, I can't wait to come back for touch-ups every week.
God, yeah. We have people asking us all the time too, like, how do we leave the job and tell the client we're done without them like inspecting it? And it's funny, like, that doesn't really happen to us where we have to say like, okay, we're leaving. Like, we leave.
Yeah,
and we're
like,
done.
hey, before I take down all the ladders, are we good? Like, is this what you wanted? It's like,
yeah, we don't ask.
Typically the clients aren't really there most of the time when we're painting, which is nice. But we have had those ones that are watching everything that we do, and we won't even be done, and they'll be like, are you done? And we're like, no, we're not done. We know it's streaky. we haven't done the second coat yet, like, but we try to just look for those red flags early if it's going to be someone that's extremely perfectionist-y, and just try to be aware of it.
Yeah.
But they sneak in there.
That's where it's screening your customers, ensuring that the crazy ones don't get through. But it is funny that, when you're hiring somebody for art and they don't understand that it's handmade and that's what you're paying for, where you think of handmade tile and the imperfections in it and the varying grout joints, and like you're paying a premium for that, and you're paying for those kind of discrepancies and the imperfections, and that's what's charmed about it. And it's the same thing with art. It's handmade, it's not mass produced, it's not intended to be perfect, but people still want it to be. And it's like, well, you want, Nick, as far as your trowel finish, where like if you wanted it to look like a car, like you should bring in somebody who makes cars, and then we can make this look sterile and like a car, or use a different material. If you want a hand troweled, hand painted finish, that's what you should be getting. You shouldn't be paying to bring it to a level that now doesn't look like it's a hand troweled finish. That's just silly to me. When you're looking for art, you're paying a premium to have it handmade and not be perfect, because like the beauty in art is the imperfections and those things that make it handmade and one of a kind and truly unique.
Yeah.
But I feel like I would be driven nuts if somebody, even if it was T&M and I was going around filling micro pinholes.
Well, I'm not the one painting.
Yeah. I'm surprised. You say that everyone is fine with it until you turn
Maybe they're
around.
not.
Yeah,
I mean,
turn around, they're like, "What the fuck is wrong with this dude?"
well, I walked in.
I'm so tired. How much money does this guy have that he's just paying us to go fill pinholes?
It's like I made sure I showed up early the next morning, and the painter walked in. He goes, "What's all the purple tape?" I'm like, "They're not that big. They're not that big a deal, but they're just a couple areas we have to address." And he's like,
gosh.
"Okay." So we walk around. He's like, "Yeah, no problem." I mean, I bought him lunch too. And
Yeah. After you left, he definitely was like, "All right, never working for this guy again."
I'm giving myself the benefit of the doubt.
That's true. So I gotta figure out how to get you girls out to New Jersey to paint my barn for free.
All right.
Maybe I'll get some sponsors.
Yeah.
I can't listen. My barn's not even worth 50 grand, and that was a cheap job for you guys. I think I'd be over investing in my barn.
Let's get a Modern Craftsman like mural somewhere.
That's
that would
fine.
be cool.
I love that.
Do it on the road. Do it on the roadside.
Yeah, like
Hell yeah.
on like a building that they don't like check that side of the building every once in a while.
Yeah.
Some guerrilla
on the side of the
marketing.
highway. So when did we find out about the show?
We will keep you posted. Yeah, we can't say too much, but we're excited about it, and hopefully next time we're on the podcast, we'll be world famous TV show stars.
Dang, they're gonna be on the podcast again?
Well, yeah, once they're on TV.
Oh, that's true.
That's in the contract. You guys didn't.
We can be like,
you guys didn't read the fine print.
We knew you when.
Yeah.
So beyond that, what's next for you guys?
We're going to Wisconsin.
Yeah, mural?
Wisconsin in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're doing a mural and a logo for the University of Wisconsin River Falls, and then we have a project right across the river in St. Paul, Minnesota, and Portland. We're painting in, doing some sort of book tour. Ladies Who Paint, our big mural festival, is coming up in October. Roxy might be going to Italy. We don't know.
To paint?
Paint?
No, for fun.
For vacation.
Listen, if you're going for a vacation, you better line up a little work and offset the cost of vacation.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
How far do you guys book out?
Right now, we're basically booked through the end of the year.
That's cool.
there's a tiny bit of wiggle room. Like, we like to leave room for those people that come in last minute that are like, hey, we need this next week, which happens. So we like to just leave a little flexibility, but we're basically from next week through beginning of November painting every single week.
It's amazing.
And then I assume that you stay on the West Coast during the winter months to paint.
We do. We don't go where it snows.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
Yeah.
That's actually not. The more that you guys talk about it, the more I feel like this is a nice career choice. It's like you be outside and nice. You can't work if it's raining. You can't work if it's cold.
Yeah.
So you're outside in nice weather all the time, painting, creating art, picking and choosing your customers.
Not answering DMs.
Yep. Getting massages after every project.
Going to Italy.
What?
Seriously. Maybe I'll start a sign painting company. You guys can start subcontracting me out.
For sure. Yeah.
I think the only time I got a massage after work was with John at the Builder Show.
Yeah.
And it wasn't me giving.
No,
the
it was not. Let's clarify. John was not giving me a massage. It was like we had been doing talks all day, and we decided to stop and order those massages. And I think I fell asleep in them.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Do you guys really get massages after every job?
Not every job, but we try to at least once a quarter.
It's needed.
Is that in the contract?
We just,
on our own.
It's part of the bill.
Yeah.
People love getting massages. I don't.
You like getting tattooed.
I don't like getting tattooed. People touching me getting tattooed is fine, but it's not enjoyable, right? Like paying somebody to do something that's enjoyable to me just seems weird. It's like one step above a hooker.
Oh my gosh.
It's just really strange that you say you don't like getting tattooed, but yet the majority of your body is ink.
Yeah, it's not enjoyable. I don't like it's not fun.
Does anyone like it?
I actually do like it. I don't mind the feeling of it.
You haven't gotten your butt tattooed, that's why.
Not my butt, but I'm
can't
covered
see,
too.
Yeah.
I have a random question. Is one of you guys a righty and the other a lefty?
No, we're both.
That would be cool.
Righties.
Oh. Well, you guys wear watches on different hands.
Oh yeah, she does. Yeah.
So I was curious if you guys work on like one side of the mural and.
I know that would be really convenient, but
and everyone's like, "Oh my God, you got paint on your Apple Watch."
You guys like clean the paint off you when you're done? I always have paint on me all the time, and it just wears off.
Yeah, no, we're pretty messy. It doesn't bother us.
Yeah.
But yeah, we paint everything.
Every time we talk about this, every time I go to get my hair cut, they're like, painting today? I'm like, 2 weeks ago. It's just still on there. Hasn't come off yet. But it's like the go-to conversation every time I go anywhere. Oh, you're a painter. No, I just have paint on me. If I was a sign painter, I'd be covered all the time.
I think you're going to be a sign painter one
I'm
day.
thinking about doing a little a career shift. I'll see if I can, as John says, what is it? Shake some trees. Is that what you say, John?
Yeah, I do. Yep.
Shake some trees, land some Jersey painting. Jersey's going to be your next biggest state for murals, and you can just have me do all of them.
Sounds great.
I know the mayor of Cape May. I'm trying to get him to, yeah.
Cape May.
Get us something down there.
That would be a cool place to do a mural.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice there. You guys.
I figured you guys would be all over Nashville. Because
I know everyone
everywhere?
says that.
There's like certain cities that are kind of more like we only support local artists. And I feel like Nashville's a little bit like that. So we haven't broken in yet.
And then New York's the other one that's annoying. Like we've
just get a mailing address there.
Yeah.
No.
New York City.
The state. Like
really?
I mean, I guess most of the jobs we've pitched for have been in the city, but nothing has gone through.
Have you done stuff in Boston?
Yeah, we've been there quite a few times.
Been there, done that.
Well, I'm wondering where, so I could go check it out.
Oh, it's it's a co-working space in.
We did one at the Natick Mall.
Yeah,
but it's not there anymore.
And wanted to
say I drive home that way every day.
Yeah, but we love it there.
We went to Natick in the wintertime.
We did. There was snow on the ground.
That must have been a blast. That was all of like 5 minutes of like, this is cool.
It was.
This is great.
it was 24 hours. It was crazy. We flew in and out, and it was the worst turbulence ever flying home, and it took 7 hours. They had to like go zigzag across the country.
Jeez.
I'm surprised you guys haven't lucked out in like upstate New York. There's so many people that have gone out of like Manhattan, Brooklyn,
Yeah.
up towards like the
Buffalo.
Catskills and stuff. That I feel like you could definitely have some jobs if you were looking to do that. Not that you need to like get New York checked off your list, but I could do some outreach for you too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like have we addressed like is it PANDR or is it PANDR?
PANDR.
It's
Oh, okay. You ever since you said PNR, I'm like I've been waiting for
Can't
one of you
unsee
guys to
it.
say it. I'm
Yeah.
like,
No, they're
It's
just being
super-
sneaky. It's sneaky.
Super
It's like
sneaky.
subliminal.
Yeah, and people ask why not R and P, and we said because Rand P
Sounds
doesn't sound
Yeah.
as good as PANDR, but you know.
It's true.
That's cool.
I have this fly flying around in here that's driving me nuts this whole podcast. My God.
All right, for those that are listening and any other artists, you know, I know we've touched on it throughout the podcast in support, but what at the core of what you guys do, what would be your advice for people that truly want to make a career out of something like this?
I think our advice would be to just first try it and see if you like it. Paint a mural in your house using our book, or for a friend's house or something, because you know it's not as glamorous as it seemed to be. But if you do want to do it, learn about the business side and how to set yourself up for success to make it happen.
And if they want to
Don't
learn
have
about
to
the
work
business
for-
side,
Oh, what?
if they want to learn about the business side, where should
Yeah,
they
we
do
have
that?
a ton of resources for that as well.
We go live on our PANDR Instagram basically Monday through Friday if we are not painting, and just answer questions. So we're always available if you guys have questions. Just don't DM us.
I'm going to
So if
send
you're
you
not-
like
if you're not
100
painting-
DMs.
Yeah, I know, right? If you're not painting, you guys are going live on Instagram every day,
Yeah,
Mostly, yeah.
during the week.
and then you guys have resources on your website, panderdesign.co.
Or you can find us
Oh,
on
no,
TikTok.
panderdesignco.com.
Yeah.
Co.com. Yeah. TikTok we put a lot of good information out on. Sometimes we do dancing,
We're a little-
accompanying good information.
We're a little bit more wild, and for all the haters, every dancing lip syncing video that we upload as a reel on Instagram does phenomenally better than just our time lapses of murals. No one
Really?
cares about the murals. They only want to see the dancing and
All
the
right.
lip syncing.
See, I've been trying to avoid the dancing on TikTok, but maybe
Yeah.
I'll take this advice.
You can
Look
just
at John.
point.
Yourself.
John, what are you looking at?
Wait, so you're trying
Any
to
chance
avoid
you get to
dancing
dance.
yourself or looking
I was
at dancing?
I was no, I'm not looking at dancing. I was been dabbling if I was gonna dance on TikTok.
Oh. Do you have an
Now
NS TikTok?
Now I feel empowered
Yeah.
to dance
Yeah.
on TikTok.
I don't
It
know.
You
doesn't
don't
take this kid
have to do it,
much
but
to
if you
dance.
I would try creating a personal account first and see if you like it.
No.
I don't
I don't
know.
think
I don't
so.
know if the NS builders dancing on TikTok is going to
Maybe I'll
translate
drink.
well.
Maybe I'll drink and dance on TikTok.
Yes.
Here we go.
TikTok's
It's
a
that
lot of
patent
fun.
You have a
move.
lot of good
Yeah.
business ideas. This is not one of them.
I'll put that in the category that Tyler disagrees with.
Yes. I'm not against it. I don't know if your brand speaks dancing,
me-
drunk
to me.
dancing on TikTok.
Dancing with
No.
tequila.
No, it's not like the main focus of our brand.
Well, I'm definitely following you on TikTok now, so
Yes, we'll follow you back too and
cool.
wait on those dance vids.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys being on. This was awesome.
Yeah. This
Thanks
was so
for
much
having
fun.
us.
Thanks, guys.
What
And,
who did you say is putting out the show on Netflix before we hop off?
We
Surprise.
cannot confirm
Yeah.
or deny.
Netflix
someone-
sounds
Like a
nice, though.
steel trap. You're not getting it out of them, man.
do you think we'll
You
find
will be
like
the first to know.
All right, thank
first
you.
to know? All right.
Just
that's what
don't
we
send
want
me a
to
DM.
Yeah. We'll get your
And-
fax number after this.
That's fine.
Awesome.
know. Tyler
DM
definitely
it
has a
to you.
fax machine. All right, guys. Well, have a
Thank
great
you.
night. Thank
Yeah,
you so
Enjoy,
much.
thank you guys
enjoy
so much.
California.
Oh, we will.
See ya.
Cheers,
See
guys. Bye.
They're more ambitious than you, Nick.
I think I'm gonna do the dancing thing. I think you guys are wrong.
Do not. Do not.
Why?
If you do it, create a separate
have-
account.
Have you looked at this
No.
two-touch?
Nope.
What does it say? Two-touch ain moo? I don't even know how to.
If you don't know how to pronounce it, you shouldn't be doing it.
Oh, two-touch an emu is
Oh.
his name. He's got 3.4 million followers, and all he does is he flies a drone around himself and dances in the random places.
I don't see how this is helping your business.
I don't know. We're gonna find out, right?
To touch
You
an
got-
emu.
Two-touch.
It's so weird.
It's so weird. I couldn't. I was like, I can't say that. and then
John, you should have
realized-
hired them to paint your shop doors.
Yeah, I should have. I'm trying to make money. Remember?
You could just paint over it.
I think I enjoy trying to paint that stuff. I did it in college. I did like the whole gym, painted all that.
Did you do the Celtics basketball court?
Yeah, I did. I was
That's
trying
cool.
to keep that a secret, but
That's cool. Is that like it? How often do you have to redo it?
it's like every season, touch it up
Some
and just dial it in.
Money, dial it in. Is that a money maker for you?
Absolutely.
That does see it. It does seem like the type of thing that would be it would be fun. I could definitely see, because of kind of the scale that you're working and you're so up close and you can't really gauge what you're doing, that the
That's
in
the craziest
between would
part.
become very repetitive for you, though. Like the layout would be cool, the finished product would be cool. While you're in between, it would just be like you're painting, a 12 by 12 square, the same color over and over and over again.
Yeah, but I think like I love the idea of those reference points that they use,
Yeah.
and then looking back at it, and then I think the accomplishment that we have, at the end of a project, I'm guessing right now they must feel that every day.
Yeah.
So their canvas is massive, and then when they come down off the ladder or the lift, there must be something that just it's a nice dopamine hit.
Yeah, unless they make a mistake, and then you're like, shit, get back up there. You got to change that before anyone sees it.
But that's the craziest thing. I think about, I've talked about being a finished carpenter and being micro focused, where it's like you're up close on baseboard and you're making the miter look really good and blah blah blah, and then you stand back and realize that the baseboard's an inch taller than the other side of the room.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, that miter looks great, but it doesn't. Like you forgot to reference the other side that you just did, and that's like the same thing, Tyler. It's like you're up close and you're like painting this like ear on a face, and then you stand back. It's like, damn it, that ear is too big.
Yeah. See, that's what I think's different, and they don't, they're not doing those type of murals. That does, I think that with what they're doing, let me see, that like it's a lot of solid colors, and it's not a lot of like gradients of shading and blending.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be very, I don't understand. I guess that's just an art thing, whether it was on a piece of paper or large scale, kind of taking something and being able to do that while you're so up close to it, and then standing back and like it looks right, where it's like, even you take like a tattoo and you're looking and you're blending two colors on a bigger piece, and then you step back and it looks right, where it's like, I just wouldn't understand how to do that. And I think, imagining that on a scale the size of a building kind of magnifies that for me, that I don't get how that works. But maybe if your brain works that way, it's a little bit easier. It's just like, it's probably just the same thing as us, where it's like, I can't imagine building an entire house, but realistically it's a bunch of the same components and skill sets that go into building a single room, just more of them.
I wonder if it's one of those things that you can't see. Like for some of it, it's like, you ever see someone do penny tile and they put the sheets down and everything looks great. And I teach my guys to take a phone out and
Yeah.
look at it through your phone because
Oh,
you'll
dude.
see every sheet.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's like a secret move, but
it's
like I
so
can't
weird.
imagine what they do. Like, do they get down and go, it looks great? But I've seen it where you send a photo. Imagine if they send an update or they log in and send it to whatever it is, and then the client sees it in a different way
Yeah.
through a photo, and you're like, I didn't even see it. It looks great in real life.
Yeah.
Right.
I think a lot of what I do lives in my peripheral, like what I catch in my peripheral, not what I'm staring directly at.
Mm.
And it just having enough time to slow down that it's not like you're in a
It's funny.
speeding car.
It's funny when you say it like that because it is like you're oftentimes walking by something and it catches you a weird way.
Mhm.
And then it's like you almost like for me it's like I like literally stop and then like reverse my movement to see if I could catch whatever it was, having no idea what it was, and then it's like that's wrong.
I mean,
The phone trick with the penny like that would that's like a tip that someone should listen to this whole podcast for just to hear this tip.
Dude, it doesn't lie.
It doesn't.
it's
And
just
it does
it's the
not lie.
lighting that like it's the way that the light hits the edges of the tiles and like
how like I don't understand how to fix it.
you basically your tile where they line up
The
with
sheet.
one another, like the two sheets, those tiles have to be on the exact same plane. Because if
Yeah.
one's down a little bit,
No, I understand that, but like I feel like any sheet product that we've ever installed, no matter how flat the surface has been, it's like
it's
it
not
never is
even that
true.
the whole surface has to be flat. It just has to be those the two tiles that are next to each other have to like it's the way that the light hits them, and that's why on your phone the way that it's processing that image you can tell it so much more. It's more pronounced than just in actual like daylight. But that's all it is. It's just that one's racked one way and one may be flat, and the
Right.
way that the light hits it differently on your phone, it pronounces that discrepancy.
Here's the trick: is you just show the tile guy. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, this is what it looks like right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And it's like seeing a different dimension.
I know.
And it's the same. I had the
We have
huge problem
yeah.
with Hex when I did that barbershop,
Yep.
where it's like some tile run. They run a little bit. And when we were doing the barbershop letters, the difference between black and white tile,
Yeah.
it ran. So like as you put like 10 tile in to create the B, it would stretch.
Yeah.
And we had done the whole floor ahead of time because the floor had to work, and so you had to fill it in. So literally I was driving around. This is what people don't see on social media. They see like the time lapse of the barbershop going in, but yet when you're driving around trying to find whoever has black
Smaller.
Hex
Yeah.
that fit. So I have one sample with me, and you're trying to, and they're different manufacturers, and whoever you're trying to get someone has the same run, and it took us forever to find it. And at some point, at different letters, we just had to cut them and dry lay them. That way, it all worked. But again, looking at it through a phone was how to make sure, like, because when people walk by that shop, they'll catch the peripheral, not the straight on. It's very few will get the straight on, so it's weird.
Yeah.
I think that also is that whole peripheral, where it's the same thing Nick was saying, where all of those individual components of that job may be executed 110%, but if they weren't done with the rest of the pieces in mind, they can still be very wrong. It's like the execution, each piece is clean, but the overall project is a nightmare because it doesn't work together, or they didn't compensate for an out of level ceiling or a floor, all those things where you don't pick that up. If you just hone in on one thing, it's like, damn, that miter's perfect, and then you take the snapshot of the whole room and you're like, but the baseboard's 2 inches higher than the door casing to the left of it.
And I honestly think that is something that is completely like undervalued in especially social media, where it's like there's so much talk about the micro details, myself included. It's like I'm constantly like, look at how tight this is, look at this reveal, look how flush this baseboard is with the wall. But it's like but what does it look like when I stand back? And it's like you have to think about that big picture, and you have to be cohesive, and it has to that's that's my favorite part of not being on the tools, where it's like, you know, John, I hear you. I heard you talk about it in our like the very beginning of our relationship, is like being able to walk a space and look around and just see how everything fits together and make those micro adjustments of like, all right, yeah, I get it. This room has a soffit on the left because there's a ductwork there. Let's put one on the right to balance the room and make it look like it's intentional. And it's like when you start thinking of that and like thinking about how those things I walked a project the other day and they had this soffit that was like up, down, down, up, like wider, fatter, like it's like because they were just trying to make the soffit as small as possible around the ductwork. It's like if that was one straight shot,
Yeah, it wouldn't
no
be as
one would
noticeable.
notice it.
Yeah, it's like crown molding. The shadow lines give it away. But
Right.
I think there's, to that point, Nick, as I've gotten older, I think I walk into the room as a GC, and then there's other moments where I need to walk in the room as the designer. And then there's other rooms I have to walk in the room different times, same project, as the homeowner or the homeowner's friend. And I try and walk into those spaces. You can't do it and go walk in the room and just have all four of those mindsets in play. You have to walk in and go, all right, what's the uneducated person going to see here?
It's also,
You know, what are they going to say? Yeah, I just think that's key, because that's what happens is a lot of times people walk in with a friend and that's where their sounding board is.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a question. It's not the question from the architect and the client walking around. That's something you can foresee. It's that randomness of just like you get a weird question, you get like insulted. Like, you know, like, what do you mean? I guess I just want to be ready for that.
I mean, it's also it's a case by case, right? In old homes and remodels where you're not necessarily dealing with things that are close to plumb level and square, like you have to make a judgment call on, do you want to kind of taper the head casing here so that it goes with the ceiling line because the new window that's installed is leveled? Do you say screw it, the ceiling's out and I want my top of my casing to be even? Do you cheat one where like you have to kind of go on a case by case basis and see what works for that space? Like there's not a steadfast rule for every situation where it's like, yeah, plumb level and square no matter what, because sometimes like parallel lines look better, sometimes stepping it looks better, where every job is going to call for like a different technique, and you have to be open to at least looking at that on a case by case basis. You can't just be like, hey, this is the way that we always do it, because it's not always right that way.
Well, I think it's kind of funny. I thought about the other day. I went golfing with my buddies in Maine, and to force them behind us, they played the game differently this year. They just played like, hey, someone has to pick a club, and you have to play that entire club the whole way through the hole. So if like the ninth hole, someone says 5-iron, you play the whole hole with 5-iron. It made me think, for some strange reason, when I was a carpenter, we were framing, my old boss would say, you know, I was like, I'll break up my stabler level. It's the extension one. It goes top plate to top plate. And he's like, you don't need a level. He's like, everything should be measurements at this point. Everything should equal out. And I watch carpenters now, like for instance, you guys telling the stories, and I'm like the whole peripheral and all that. And just recently we had someone put in one of our kitchens, and they're breaking out these lasers and they're doing all this other bullshit. And then I'm looking at it, and I walk in the room and I'm like, why is the crown running? How is it possible? It's a brand new goddamn house. It's because someone set up a level that was wrong, a laser that was wrong. And it's like, so you put all this trust in that device, and you threw away.
You never stood back and looked at it.
No, but you threw away all your experience. Like when it's going on and the cabinet's up and the face frame is completely true, how is it that you think you need to scribe crown?
Yeah.
Like there wasn't an alarm that went off and was like, dude, wait a minute. Let me just rethink my calibrations. Like, let me just reset real quick. And I was a culprit when I was doing that, because I was always trying to get stuff done quicker. I don't know if you guys ever did this. Like I'd take a video of myself of doing something, and I'd like then want to speed it up and realize, you know what, you're already going too fast. Like I don't need to speed it up. Like it's like, maybe you should just slow down. Maybe that's the trick. And it just blew my mind that, you know, and then it also blows my mind that people and carpenters that we have, want to get paid for both the initial install and then the correction. And it's
Yeah.
like, yo, like I supplied all that stuff. Now we have to touch this up. So I'm supplying the next round of stuff. There needs, it can't just be take.
Right.
You know, and it's really tough in having those confrontational situations. No one wants confrontation, but if it doesn't happen and you don't have this clear determination of how you're getting to that finish line, then you're gonna, like Tyler taught me that word, resentment. And it's like you'll have resentment build up where this carpenter's on their fourth job with you and you're excited, they're excited, but yeah, why wouldn't you be excited? It's a free for all.
Yeah.
Get as much product as you want, take as much time as you want, charge as much as you
And
want,
get paid for your mistakes.
yeah. And it's like no one's gonna call me out because I know how valuable a mediocre educated carpenter is. Like, you know, I think that's what's missing is just because you show up and you have lasers and stablers and all this stuff, it's like doesn't make you a great carpenter.
No, and I think that it's I mean, it's good to have those tools, but I feel like they should aid in your install, and there needs to be, you know, you should be double, triple checking things.
A shitty cut's still a shitty cut.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even lasers, like, dude, everyone, yeah, like, but everyone's hung up on lasers and that they do this, they do that. Like, not that I'm doing it right, but like I use a laser for reference points and for layouts, and then it's kind of packed up at that point where it's like it gets me, you know, from one side of the room to the other, and it gets me, it sets some benchmarks and some elevations for me, and then at that point it's all hands, stick levels, string lines, everything else that, like, all I need is that benchmark set up once, and I have multiple multiple ways of checking that where you don't need that for every step of the way. And like a lot of times it's going to screw you up where something's off and you have your plumb line up on a cabinet where like maybe you don't want that cabinet to be perfectly plumb in this situation because the opening next to it isn't perfectly plumb. So now it looks like something's off, where you let go of all of your experience and you like take the thinking out of it, where you should be thinking the whole way through, how can I make this better, how can this look better, rather than using these tools to be this like, hey, I'm going to depend, everything's going to ride on the accuracy of this tool, where it shouldn't be that way.
Dude, I've watched it, same crew, different day. We had the front porch. That's the porch I put the actual decking on myself. I did that for two things. A, I wanted to work with my son just because I figured he'd be sitting there leaning against the wall on a cell phone, but he was like in it. He was like, after the first couple hours, he was the one grabbing one drill to do, you know, the pre-drill, and then grabbing the screws. Like he was being step 3, 4, 5 instead of me being 1 through 5. And I get to use that reference point going forward with the carpenters going, hey, this was 6 hours with a 14-year-old. You were 2 carpenters. Right. So here's I've now set the benchmark and the reference point on what we're trying to get done. This is the crew where I walk outside the job, and that deck, we had to replace the columns because they weren't in yet. They were like 2x4s, and they had to put in 4 columns. And I go outside, and they're like on the driveway off to the left of the porch setting up a laser. And I'm like, I stopped. And I was like looking around, like trying to, instead of me flipping out, just like I'm like looking around, like, all right, what am I taking?
What are they lasering?
Like, what do we do? Yeah. And then I'm like, you guys are putting the columns on? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, so you think you need a laser for this? Like, all the points are already there. The deck's there. You just need a level
there.
Yeah, just get the reveal and level it down. Game over. You're taking longer to set up a laser and to figure out how you can see it over 30 feet. I just was like baffled that this is just straight tape measure work now. Like, measure it out. Yeah, and it's really frustrating because then you have pride involved when you're like, dude, hey, this is like, who's this guy walking by me to tell me how to do this, and I don't need this.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to keep a water level on my truck, so I don't need a laser. right? Where it's like you could level one thing on one side of the house, walk around the other, and figure out the exact height with like no laser. It doesn't matter what the daylight is. Like,
Yeah. I did that last time I did that was to set a water table for a house I did in Newton when I was siding it.
yeah,
I
from
was
one
like, how
side
am I
to the
gonna
other.
yeah, I want to be able to, because I want to run I had a younger kid working for me. I want to start this corner, jump over to this corner, make sure everything was good to go, and then let him fill in. And that was the last time I used one. What that was actually, you know what I also used was an old school transit.
Yeah.
Set the transit up, and then I could get the back right corner, front right corner, and
one
then
shot.
far left corner, all those shots at the same time.
Yeah, I mean lasers are accurate too, but like they're not as accurate as other things. Like
No,
a water table or a water level is going to be way more accurate than a laser when you're going those long distances because they're out plus or minus how much, over that long distance, no matter how great it is, like it's not going to be as accurate as a transit or like a water level or things like that where it's like maybe it's getting complicated.
I mean, we got one for like being able to set grades
Yeah.
for us. Because I mean, I love the transit because I love the fact you have to understand how it's used and do your math, and it makes you can do the calculations from both directions.
Right.
But if I'm by myself, which will happen more often than not, at the end of the day, trying to check measurements or heights, it's good to be able to set a laser, come off my reference point, and then
Measure up
walk
or
around
down.
the site. Well, I could just walk around the site and it can beep for me. It's almost like that beep is the other person
Yeah.
instead of going up, down, up. Like
Mhm.
it's only so many times you can have two people at one spot.
No, I agree. All right, dudes.
No new reviews this week.
Really?
No, but we're about 55 reviews away from 1,000.
About or 55 away?
We are exactly 55 away from 1,000, but we are still the top construction-related podcast.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
There was another one that I think has fallen by the wayside recently, right?
Oh, well, Tyler, I'm not going to comment on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I think we all know.
I thought someone else would take that as a challenge that like, oh, they're at 55 away from 1,000. I'm going to go hit up another podcast and give it some reviews.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, either way, guys, we appreciate you following along, listening each week. You can find us on Instagram, _Modern Craftsman. You can hit, we got to update the website. That's something we should probably
We got to do a lot of things.
We got to do a lot of things. Well, actually, I was going to say we'll see you at JLC, but we won't because we will have already seen you. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. And I'm just going to say it was nice seeing all you guys there. Even though we're recording it prior to really seeing you guys at JLC. Either way, we'll see you next week.
If you don't get that, just disregard that.
Yeah.